The confrontation between the Islamic regime occupying Iran, the United States, Israel, and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has entered another potentially decisive movement. And the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps has entered and the developments of the last 48 hours could determine whether this conflict moves toward a diplomatic breakthrough or another major round of military escalation. Tonight on The Goldie Show, I'm breaking down what has happened, what we actually know, what remains uncertain, and what President Donald Trump may do next. One of the biggest stories is the Strait of Hormuz. The Islamic regime says that it is in the final stages of drafting an agreement with Oman concerning shipping through this critical waterway. President Trump, meanwhile, has remained deliberately vague about whether an agreement has actually been reached. The stakes are enormous. Before the current conflict, roughly 1/5 of globally traded oil and natural gas moved through the Strait of Hormuz. But these so-called negotiations are happening against a backdrop of continuing military escalation. According to maritime intelligence, at least 2 cargo ships were struck in the Strait of Hormuz during the past week, while other vessels reported warnings or near misses involving entities claiming to represent the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. The proposed Hormuz agreement is also controversial because reporting indicates that the Islamic regime has sought a role overseeing inbound shipping, while Oman would oversee outbound traffic. Meanwhile, Washington has opposed any arrangement effectively granting the Islamic regime control over the international waterway. And this isn't happening in isolation. The wider region remains unstable, with renewed Israel-Hezbollah tensions in Lebanon, continued activity by Islamic regime-backed Houthis around strategic shipping routes in the Bab al-Mandab, and enormous pressure on Washington, Tehran, and America's Persian Gulf allies to prevent another explosion of fighting. So is diplomacy actually working? Or is this simply the calm before another confrontation between President Trump and the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps? Tonight, we'll examine the latest developments, separate verified reporting from speculation, look at what Tehran wants, what Washington appears unwilling to concede to, and where Israel fits into the equation, and what all of this could mean for Iran and the wider Middle East. I'm Goldie Gamari, and you're watching The Goldie Show. everyone to tonight's evening edition of The Goldie Show. I'm Goldie Kamari, former Canadian politician, current geopolitical analyst, and of course, Iran expert. And I'm here to give you the breakdown on what is currently happening in the Middle East. As always, let me know in the live stream chat where you are tuning in from. And if you're watching the replay, if you're part of the rewatch crew, let me know in the video comments below where you are tuning in from, if it is safe for you to do so. As always, just a quick housekeeping note, I should say. When it comes to the Iranian people fighting for freedom and democracy against the Islamic regime, I speak about that on Iran Revolution Live. However, the Goldie Show is more of a broader geopolitical analysis. And guys, I have a number of things to go through, including President Trump's most recent statements, as well as an interview by Scott Bessent. So let's get started. I want to talk about a number of things tonight before we get into videos and footage. And guys, I know that there have been a number of boom booms and explosions reported. I will get to those eventually, but of course, this is not sort of a breaking news unless it's like something insanely breaking news, and of course I'll tune in. But this is a geopolitical analysis. So I want to talk first of all about media reporting about the possibility of attacks by the Islamic regime's proxies from Iraq and Yemen against Saudi Arabia. Of course, the Islamic regime's proxies in Iraq include the Hashd al-Shabi and Kataib al-Hezbollah, and of course in Yemen, it's pretty much the Houthis. And guys, I've shown images and videos of the Houthis. You know, they're like the ones that are always high, chewing the khat, and they literally sing Justin Bieber when they're not sending missiles towards Saudi Arabia. So the Saudis have expressed concern over this imminent threat. Precise intelligence assessments by the United States and Saudi Arabia indicate that the Islamic Republic's proxies in Iraq and Yemen intend to attack Saudi Arabia very soon. The other thing I want to speak about is Turkey, Pakistan, and Saudi Arabia are preparing to sign a trilateral defense pact. Now keep in mind, Saudi Arabia and Pakistan already have a defense pact, but now they want to create a new one that includes Turkey in the mix. This should be of significance to every single person who is a citizen of a NATO country, because Turkey is a member state of NATO. So you have to ask yourselves the question, why is it that Turkey is now trying to sign a defense pact with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan when Turkey is already a NATO member and therefore should already have the, privileges of all other NATO defense members? Apparently, this trilateral pact between Saudi Arabia, Turkey, and Pakistan is supposed to be signed in Riyadh. Riyadh is the capital of Saudi Arabia, within the next few hours. Erdogan, who's also affiliated and connected and a part of the Muslim Brotherhood, he's also heading to Riyadh. Shahbaz Sharif, he's the Prime Minister of Pakistan, he'll probably go as well. And a trilateral defense pact will be signed. And this should be of concern to NATO members. Now, the other thing I want to talk about is President Trump's report regarding the Strait of Hormuz negotiations. And President Trump, and I will share this video, he said, "We are negotiating. It has not been finalized yet." However, Arab media outlets and, of course, Islamic regime media outlets just reported a few minutes ago, citing American officials, that the Islamic regime is claiming that they will not accept any form of control over passage through the Strait of Hormuz by the sorry, I got this wrong, but some media outlets are claiming that American officials, on condition of anonymity, are saying we will not accept any form of control over passage through the Strait of Hormuz by the Islamic regime. I mean, guys, that's pretty much common knowledge because that is one of President Trump's bottom lines. So if we go to what President Trump said earlier, let me share this with you because this is what I'm speaking about here, okay? So listen to this.
Look at what's going on. It's down to 75. When I started the very important excursion into the Islamic Republic of Iran, it was a very important excursion because they can't have a nuclear weapon. Otherwise, the whole world would get blown up. We're not going to let that happen. Not only us, not only the Middle East, the whole world would have been catastrophic. We had no choice. We had oil down to less than two, in many places like Iowa. Oil was down to, gasoline was down at numbers that people hadn't seen in years. $1.85, $1.95. So it passed Tuesday. I was in Iowa at a stop, and we had 195, another one 185 a gallon. And we'll see those days pretty soon again, based on everything I see, as soon as the war ends. And I think it's going to end pretty soon. I don't think they can go much longer. Yeah, please.
Has a deal been reached to reopen the Strait of Hormuz?
Well, I don't want to say it has been. It's sort of open right now. You know, we have a thing called the blockade headed up by the U.S. Navy, and we control it. And now we control it, but they can always shoot something. They always have something or drop a mine. And if you have one mine sitting out there, you sort of mess things up because people don't want to take their billion-dollar boats and accidentally get hit by a mine. But I think we're doing very well. I just, I'm involved in the negotiation. I think we're doing fine. It could be soon, yeah.
Mr. President, have you lobbied any of the undecided Republicans who will vote tomorrow on Todd Blanche's nomination?
So there you go. President Trump is saying that he is directly involved in the negotiations and it could be soon. Now, keep in mind, we have to take what he's saying here with a grain of salt. Because if you recall, back on February 27, when President Trump spoke with the media about 12 hours before Khamenei, the supreme dictator of the Islamic regime, was exterminated and, sent back to hell where he belongs, President Trump said, yeah, we're speaking with them. We're involved in the negotiations. We're talking. Let's see what happens, right? And when President Trump says, let's see what happens, that's not a good sign. I mean, at least not for the Islamic regime anyway, because the last time President Trump said, we're talking, I'm not happy with how it goes, but let's see what happens, Khamenei was sent to hell. So the fact that President Trump is directly involved with the current negotiations, this pretty much means that President Trump is done with the Islamic regime, right? Because remember, the Islamic regime, if their lips are moving, they are lying. And President Trump has said numerous times that the people his team is dealing with are literally insane, right? The Islamic regime negotiators like Abbas Araghchi and Ghalibaf and others, they will say one thing to the Americans, but then they will turn around, go on Durka News Network, essentially Islamic regime state TV, and say the complete opposite. And the entire time they're threatening President Trump. They're printing posters of, where they're calling for the assassination of President Trump and his family members and his administration. And I've shared all of, the videos and footage of that, like absolutely horrific stuff, right? So, what does this mean? What does this mean? This means because President Trump is involved, this means that this entire discussion is about an agreement being reached could fall apart, right? And I have a feeling that it will fall apart because I've been saying from the beginning, the Islamic regime is not reliable. They're not trustworthy, right? Everything that they say, it's basically taqiyya. If their lips are moving, they're lying. The Islamic regime was created upon this whole foundational pillar of, death to America, death to Israel. America is the great Satan, Israel's the little Satan, alalala, jihad, whatever. So, President Trump has made it very clear, right, that the Americans are not going to accept, permits, right? So the Islamic regime is saying, no, the Strait of Hormuz will be open, but, we have to take tolls or permits, right, for environment or whatever, or protection or whatever. First of all, why would anyone have to get a permit for protection? Who do they need protection from? It's like the Islamic regime is literally pointing out the fact that they are a mafia, because that's exactly how a mafia behaves, right? Mafias go around and they demand extraction money from various people for protection. Protection from who? Protection from the same mafia that is forcing them to give money to the mafia, right? So basically they're saying, give us money so we don't attack you, right? Because there's literally no reason why anyone needs protection traveling through the Persian Gulf or the Strait of Hormuz. It's the Islamic regime that's basically saying, if you don't pay us, we will try to destroy your cargo ships and attack you. But the United States has said that we will not accept permits, and we will not accept control of traffic by the Islamic regime, and we will not accept the collection of fees either. So what this means is that the negotiations have pretty much gotten nowhere, and there's a high probability of failure, just like I've been saying all along. Even though President Trump is saying, America might sign an agreement, it smells like failure to me, because when you look at the way President Trump is speaking, and when you look at how the Islamic regime and the Durkas are responding, there's no way that an agreement is ever going to go through. Because again, we're dealing with one of President Trump's 5 terms that are unconditional. And those 5 terms, once again, they are ending the military nuclear program, allowing the United States to go in and retrieve the enriched uranium, full and free and safe passage through the Strait of Hormuz, ending the Islamic regime's ballistic nuclear military program, and of course the 5th one is the Islamic regime ending its funding for its terrorist proxy groups like Hamas and the Houthis and Hezbollah and Hashd al-Shabi and the Fatimiyun and their jihadi groups in Pakistan and Afghanistan and Iraq and elsewhere, right? Those are the 5 unconditional demands of the United States, and the Islamic regime has refused to agree to any of those demands, not even a single one. That includes the Strait of Hormuz. So right now, right, when you're hearing about this sort of back and forth negotiations about the Strait of Hormuz, and if you hear the fake stream media say, President Trump is demanding, free passage, well, that's been from the get-go. That's been a demand from day one, and I've spoken about that months ago as well. The other thing that's really important to talk about is the president of the Islamic regime, the so-called president, Pezeshkian. He had a television interview, and he justified the January 8 and 9 massacre. So remember, on January 8 and 9, when Iranians took to the streets, and over 54,000 innocent unarmed Iranians were murdered by the Islamic regime, Pezeshkian, the puppet president of the Islamic regime, he went on Islamic regime TV and he justified this massacre. And he said, And basically he said that the Islamic regime was justified in murdering innocent unarmed Iranian people because murdering people in order to protect Islam is allowed in the Quran. So this is what you don't see in mainstream media, right? And I can pull this up for you guys here. Let me just find this. Sorry, I'm trying to find the right video. I saw this on Durka News, but I can't like. Wait, let me see if I can find this, guys. I have other videos from him where he's justifying other things, but let me see if I can find this one. Let's see. Jeez. Okay. All right. So this one, this piece of news is relatively new, so it's not there's still not like an English translated version because I watched this, but it hasn't been translated yet. So this is going to get to the media in a little bit. However, Pezeshkian in the same interview, he's like, "Oh, there was no logical reason for killing Khamenei." Yeah, there was, because Khamenei is a Muslim Nazi, right? Khamenei is literally a Muslim Nazi. So hopefully I can get that video for you by tomorrow. But today on Islamic Regime State TV, Pezeshkian, and for those of you, if you need a quick reminder of who Pezeshkian is, on the Boom Boom bingo sheet, this is Pezeshkian here, okay? He's the puppet president of the Islamic regime. So he today was justifying why the Islamic regime mass murdered over 54,000 innocent unarmed Iranians on January 8 and 9. And he's doing this in order to try and save his head, because keep in mind, Pezeshkian is the one who signed the MOU, the MOU that's literally of no force and effect, with the United States, okay? So all the other Durkas are going after him. So now Pezeshkian, he's trying to, prevent himself from being executed by the Islamic regime by justifying the mass murder. So this is what I mean. Like when I say that, a Nazi is a Nazi is a Nazi, it doesn't matter where they are located on the Boom Boom bingo sheet or, which box they're under. It's all the same thing. It's all the same thing, right? A Nazi is a Nazi is a Nazi, and a Muslim Nazi is a Muslim Nazi is a Muslim Nazi. So now Pezeshkian, this terrorist, he's now justifying why the Muslim Nazis murdered over 54,000 innocent unarmed Iranians on January 8 and 9. So, when we Iranians say, don't show them any leniency, this is what we are referring to, right? Because they're all evil. They're all evil. Now, there's also a lot of infighting within the Islamic regime. And of course, I call it the game of Durka. So the Islamic regime's anger over various people calling out others within the factions is spilling over into the public. And, we have seen a lot of these Muslim Durkas who are attacking one another, If you watched Tusi live earlier today, he spoke about this a little bit, and I'm going to get into that. But, there's one turban head who is now not only attacking Pezeshkian, but he's attacking Ghalibaf and all these others, and basically saying that they have sidelined their cardboard dictator, Mujtaba Khamenei, right? So the infighting is spilling over. And that is significant when it comes to the geopolitical analysis, because again, it makes all of us ask the question, who is in charge? Who's in charge of the Islamic regime? Who is calling the shots? I still think that it's General Skidmark, right? General Skidmark here, he's the one who's pretty much calling the shots when it comes to the military operations and strikes. I mean, I could be wrong, but it's pretty much Vahidi, aka General Skidmark. Now, I want to get to a few posts from Durka News, because again, if you want to understand how to fight your enemy, you need to know what they're thinking and what they are doing. So let me start with a little bit of the Durka infighting, okay? Look, so this Durka here, okay? You know what's really funny about this? And guys, so I watched Tusi as well, and Tusi gave a good breakdown. But Tusi forgot one important thing. So this Durka jihadi cleric who is blaming Khamenei's doctor, okay? Guys, do you know? Guys, okay, let me pull this up. Iranians, you can't say this because you know where I'm going with this, right? But do you know, for the non-Iranians, who is the son of Khamenei's doctor? Who knows? Who is the son? It's Marandi Charandi. There you go. Dr. Cobra got it. No, it's not chunky yogurt. It's Marandi Charandi. And guys, you have no idea. This was me. So on January 11, when I went on Pierce Morgan, and here I am, like I'm in the background, and like I literally couldn't believe that Charandi Marandi is on Pierce Morgan. So I before I even remembered to before I even remembered that I could take like a screenshot of my screen, I was like, oh my god, it's this guy. So I literally used my phone to take a screenshot. And as you can tell, I'm not a very happy camper here, right? Like I am not happy at all. Like I'm just like, I cannot believe this garbage person is here. But what is hilarious is that Marandi Charandi, he is the son of Khamenei's physician, okay? So this guy who has been spouting Islamic regime propaganda for the last, I don't know, however many decades, like this garbage person, right? The mullahs, the other Durkas are now going after him and his family, right? So the cleric who's blaming Khamenei's doctor for pushing Pezeshkian presidency. So why is that? That's because Pezeshkian signed the MOU with the United States, the Great Satan, okay? And of course, the other Durkas don't like that. So it's literally like jihadi Durka cannibalism, right? So I find this absolutely hilarious because Marandi right now is probably freaking out because he has been, defending these Durkas, and now the Durkas are attacking him. They're attacking his family, and his life is probably in danger, right? But you know what? Good. Guys, there's no honor amongst thieves. There's no honor amongst terrorists, right? So this is what happens in totalitarian systems and totalitarian dictatorships, right? You're only you're only safe if you're useful, right? But the moment that they have no more need for you, they literally throw you under the bus. So, guys, I don't know where Marandi is. He's a United States citizen. I don't know if he's in the US or not. I mean, if he's in the United States, I would hope that, like, I don't know, FBI or CIA get him, and like he should go to like Guantanamo Bay and like be locked up in like a prison cell and just throw away the key, right? I mean, unfortunately, he is a U.S. citizen, so like there's nothing ICE can do about that. But there is Guantanamo Bay, so I don't know. If I was an American, I would be reaching out to law enforcement and being like, where is Marandi and why is he not in Guantanamo Bay? So yeah, so this cleric, this so guys, this is like Game of Durka, right? Game of Thrones, but Game of Durka. So the jihadis are infighting, and now they're attacking Marandi Charandi's father, because his father was Khamenei's doctor, and yeah, like they're basically looking for any scapegoat. So now Marandi Charandi has become a scapegoat. So you know what? Karma, guys. This is literally karma. This is karma, and I am thoroughly enjoying this karma. So let's listen to what this Durka has to say. It's 20 seconds. It's got subtitles, so just follow along with subtitles.
خدا بگم چه کنه شورای نگهبان رو که بودن همچه آشکاری رو من تایید کردن و لعنت کنه خدا بر مرندی خبیث ملعون که این رد خدمت آقا اینو چپون تو پاچه این ملت دفتر آقا که میگم فاسد.
Okay, guys, no. You know what? I have to correct myself. I said that I wouldn't repeat the subtitles, but I have to because this is too good. So he says Pezeshkian is not fit for this job, right? So remember, Pezeshkian is the puppet president of the Islamic dictatorship, right? Pezeshkian is the puppet president of the Islamic dictatorship, and he says Pezeshkian is not fit for the job. Wow, okay, so this Durka, he's literally confirming what we Iranians have been saying this entire time, that there are no real elections within the Islamic regime because it is a totalitarian Islamic dictatorship, right? We don't have elections, we have selections. Anyone who runs for office within the Islamic regime, they have to be approved by the Durkas, and they're pretty much selected, right? Like the voting is fake, the elections are fake, right? The numbers are fake, it's all fake. And the fact that like this unelected, turban-headed Durka, by the way, guys, he has a black turban. Pop quiz time, not for the Iranians, for the non-Iranians. What does a black turban mean? What's the difference between a black turban and a white turban? Who's gonna get it first? Omid. I know. Omid, it's torture for you. No, what's the difference between a black turban and a white turban? There we go. You know what? Scruff Dizzle got it. Tazi Durka. So, exactly. No, black is not war. Black means, it's the bloodline. Exactly, it's the bloodline. Black turban is a descendant of Muhammad. Exactly, Mario, Muhammad's lineage. directly descended from Momo, right? So there you go. Muslim descent related to Muhammad. So, well, Plug says no difference. I mean, they are both garbage. I agree. Like they're both garbage. But the difference between a black turban and a white turban is that a black turban means they are a direct descendant of Muhammad, the dead Arab warlord, right? So, given the fact that he's wearing a black turban, he's pretty much advertising, he's openly advertising the fact that he's not Iranian, he's Arab, right? He's an Arab. And this is what we mean when we say that Iran is occupied by a foreign Arab Muslim invading force. Because these turban heads, they're not Iranian, right? They're not Iranian, they're Arab. And I don't have any issues with Arabs, right? But just like stick to your own countries, right? Stick to your own countries. These Durkas who literally, right, they promote and advertise the fact that they are the Arab descendants of Muhammad, the dead Arab warlord, the pedophile Arab warlord, by the way, because he married a 6-year-old girl when he was 54 years old, right? So they're bragging about the fact that they are Arab invaders. And now, you know, this Tazi, and guys, we call the Arab invaders Tazi. So this Tazi, right, is claiming that Pezeshkian is not fit for the job. So not only is he just like admitting that there's no democracy within the country. We already know that, right? It's in a totalitarian dictatorship. But he's also saying that even though he was selected, he's not fit enough. Like he's not good enough for the presidency. I mean, Pezeshkian is an idiot. We all know that. But yeah, so now it's literally like game of Durka. So let me just read this. Pezeshkian is not fit for this job. And guys, he's not even speaking like proper Persian. Like he's speaking with a very like چقدر لهجهش گنده اصلا چون لهجه لهجه خیلی بیسوادی داره اصلا he has a very like low class way of speaking, right? Like educated Iranians don't speak like this. He's speaking in a very low class way. I don't know how else to describe it, but it's just look, it's like this is how the imams speak. It's like they purposely speak in this very like bastardized version of, you know what, I don't want to say hillbilly because that's an insult to hillbillies, right? Like hillbillies are a proud patriotic people, and you know hillbillies love their country, and hillbillies are not bad people. Hillbillies are great people. So like I can't, like, it's, I don't want to use that word. It's just like it's just the only thing I can call it is like a Durka. It's a Durka accent. That's all I can say, right? It's like these people are so low IQ and so inbred that they actually have trouble speaking properly, okay? They have trouble speaking properly because it's just the inbreeding, right? I would never ever insult hillbillies by comparing like hillbillies. Hillbillies are educated people. They just have, you know, a different culture, a different dialect. Nothing wrong with that. Totally cool. These Durkas, it's just like they're so low IQ that even the way they speak is just like garbage.
حالا بگم چرا کنشوران نگهبان رو که اومدن این همچین آشغالی رو من تایید کردم.
And then this is like so now this Durka jihadi imam, yeah, there we go. This is, I like this. Javid hillbilly. Yes, shout out to all the hillbillies. We love hillbillies. But anyway, so now this guy, so this Durka imam, he's now openly calling the president of the Islamic regime, he's calling Pezeshkian trash. Guys, this is what I mean. When I say that the game of Durka is intensifying, this is what I'm talking about. Because now you have a bunch of unelected Durkas who are going after the puppet president of the Islamic regime, and they're calling him trash. They're literally calling him trash, right? They're saying they approved such trash. They're literally calling Pezeshkian trash. And then he says, may God curse. Did you hear Marandi? Guys, did you hear Marandi? Let me go back. Guys, listen to this. Listen. He says, may God curse the wicked Marandi. Listen to this, guys. This is my favorite part.
لعنت کنه خدا بر مرندی خبیث ملعون.
Let's listen to that again. He's like, may God curse the wicked Marandi. That he's referring to, so he's referring to the father of this Marandi, right? So Marandi is the last name. So that Durka, by the way, that Durka is like a relative of Khamenei, okay? Khamenei, Khabar Margish, whatever. Because his, like, guys, this is how insane the inbreeding is, right? Like, when I tell you that for these people, their family tree looks like a family circle, right? That's why there's a lot of inbreeding. That's why there's a lot of low IQ, right? That's because the Durka that I'm sharing with you right now, his sister married one of Khamenei's brothers, okay? So that's like the familial relationship there, right? So this Durka that's calling Marandi's father trash is related to the current cardboard dictator, because his sister married the cardboard dictator's brother. So the sister is like the, one of the numerous concubines of the brother of this one, okay? So literally, it's literally a circle. It's a circle of inbreeding. Anyway, so going back, okay? So now he's calling the father of Marandi, and this is Marandi. His father is the or was the physician for Khamenei Sr. So his father was the doctor for Khamenei Sr. Okay? Of course, Khamenei Sr. was boomed and sent to hell. And now, apparently, the Durkas, because they are so idiotic and low IQ, they're blaming one another. So now that Durka is blaming the father of Marandi Chanandi, who was Khamenei's physician, for Khamenei's death, because apparently Khamenei could have somehow magically survived the boom booms from the IDF in the United States, through Muslim magic or I don't know, whatever. But because his father is apparently a traitor, his father is a traitor to the Islamic regime, Khamenei is dead. So, you know what? Karma. And this is what I mean, guys. This is what I mean. When it comes to these Durkas, right? The universe will always provide. So as long as you're a good person, as long as you are firm in what you believe in, right? The universe will always take care of you. I truly believe this. And, yes, there may be times where there's like a trial or tribulation and you feel like things are difficult. And this actually reminds me of this Christian story. And guys, I'm not even Christian, but like this Christian story, it's so beautiful and it resonates with me and so many others. Let me see if I can find it. It's this one. It's this one here. Okay, let me literally one of my favorite quotes, right? And this one, through some of my darkest times, like this quote and this story has always like given me hope, right? So it's called Footprints in the Sand. One night in a dream, I walked with the Lord by the beach. There were two footprints, mine and the Lord's. But during tough times, I just saw mine and wondered why. So I asked the Lord, why leave me alone when I was down? The Lord said, my precious child, I never left you during your times of trial and suffering. When you saw only one set of footprints, it was then that I carried you. Okay, so beautiful, beautiful story. You know, I relate to this so much, and you know, this always like kind of, you know, gives me hope. And whenever I'm kind of feeling down, I just remind myself of this story. And again, even though I'm not Christian, I absolutely love this, right? Like, it's just Christianity, such a beautiful religion. Love all of our Christian viewers. And, you know, there's a reason that Christianity is the fastest growing religion in occupied Iran, Zoroastrianism being the second fastest growing religion. But there you go. So, you know, so even like here, going back to here, like this was like one of my darkest times. Okay, this was one of my darkest times because this was January 11. This was just literally, we had just heard about the massacre. We had just heard about the slaughter of the Iranian people that had happened on January 8 and 9. And then on January 11, I'm going on Piers Morgan, and then this garbage, Durka, shows up, and he's denying the massacre, and he's basically saying that it's Mossad and whatever. And I'm just like, what is happening right now? Like, what am I dealing with, right? Oh, Victory. So Victory, just really quick to your super chat. I didn't finish the video. I am going to play the video from the beginning 100% Victory. So yes, I will get to that very, very soon because it is an important video and I do want to share that. So usually I leave super chats for the end of the live stream, but that was just very important. So I wanted to share that right away. But yes, I am getting to that video. It is so important. But yeah, so at that point, right, like this was one of my most difficult periods, and you know, I think I held my own, and you know, I told Charandi Marandi that when the Iranian people get a hold of him, the tip of his pinky finger will be the biggest piece of his body that's left, and I had good reason for saying that. However, now the Durkas themselves are attacking him, right? Because because now the Durkas are saying, may God, they mean Allah, may Allah curse the wicked, accursed Marandi who pushed this onto Khamenei and so much and forced him on the nation. So guys, basically what this Durka is saying, okay? So this is like the in-depth analysis on the game of Durka, the Game of Thrones, that you won't see in the mainstream media. So this Durka is now alleging that Marandi's father forced the dead supreme dictator Khamenei to approve Pezeshkian to become the president, right? So guys, they're literally acknowledging that the Islamic regime is a totalitarian dictatorship and there's no democracy, there's no freedom, right? Like they're literally themselves. I mean, they've never hidden the fact that they are a totalitarian Islamic dictatorship. And this is why it's so wild to me that in like English language media, there are people that are defending the Islamic regime. Meanwhile, I mean, you guys are seeing the literally in-depth Durkha analysis, okay? May God curse the wicked Marandi. خاک تو سرش خوبت شد. اگه بیشرف اگه داری اینو نگاه میکنی خوبت شد. امیدوارم همشون بیان سراغت سر به تنت نباشه. خوبت شد.
و لعنت کنه خدا بر مرندی خبیث ملعون که این رفت خدمت آقا اینو چپون تو پاچه این ملت.
اوه چپون
دفتر آقا که میگم فاسده، یعنی حتی دکترش هم مثل دکتر مرندی فاسده، مفسده. این کار نمیخورد. خدا میگم چه کنه شورای نگهبان رو که اومدن همچین آشکاری رو من تایید کردن و لعنت کنه خدا بر مرندی خبیث ملعون که این رفت خدمت آقا اینو چپون تو پاچه این ملت.
Wait, Omid, oh my gosh, wait. اون حرفی رو زد که فکر کردم گفت که با که شروع میشه. اونو گفت خاک تو سرش.
اینو چپون تو
Oh my gosh. He did. Oh my gosh. Okay. Oh my gosh. Wow. I didn't catch that the first time. Guys, the Durkas, the low IQ Durkas, it gets even worse. Listen to this. Where?
خدا میگم چه کنه شورای نگهبان رو که اومدن همچین آشکاری رو من تایید کردن و لعنت کنه خدا بر مرندی خبیث ملعون که این رفت خدمت آقا اینو چپون تو پاچه این ملت.
Okay, so basically, yeah, the translation, okay, well, the translation's not wrong. The translation's trying to be PG, but basically, so, okay, do you see this hand gesture? You see this hand gesture where he's like this? So basically, he's saying that Marandi, oh no, okay, Marandi shoved Pizishkian up the rear end of the country, and that's how so basically he's saying Pizishkian became the president of the Islamic regime because Marandi shoved him up the rear end of the country. And he says like the very crude word for rear end, like to set it. Ashkal. Like, do you see how they talk? Like, do you see how low IQ these people are? They're, yeah, like they're literally projecting. But he's like Marandi shoved Pizishkian into the rear end of the Iranian people. Like, it's just, do you see how vile and like low IQ these people are? Like, it's just such garbage people, garbage ideology, like just garbage everything, right? So okay, so basically he's saying that Pezeshkian is the butt plug of the Iranian people. I mean, is this, so Laura's saying, is this a good thing? I mean, it's good in the sense that the Durkas are infighting, right? So this is like just more, this is just like more proof that the Islamic regime is collapsing because the game of Durka, the infighting, has intensified. Like, it's getting even more insane because now you literally have, like, guys, by the way, this is supposed to be a holy man, okay? Remember, this is a holy man in their, religion, right? I don't see him as a holy man. I see him as like a Muslim pedophile, right? Like, I see him as an inbred Muslim pedophile. But, some people, yeah, Backdoor Boys fan number 1. There you go. But anyway, so like I don't see him as a holy man. I see him as like a Muslim pedophile. However, there are certain people who do, see him as a holy man. And so just think about that. So, ask, ask those people, is this what your religion is, where, people, your holy people are going out and saying on Durka News Network that the president was forced into the rear end of the nation. I mean, as disgusting as this is, it's important to share and it's important to translate so that you guys can understand how evil and filthy the Islamic regime is and how evil and filthy their ideology is. And, I actually, it's disgusting. It's disgusting, right? But this is the nonsense that we are dealing with and that we have been dealing with for the last 47 years. And this is why sometimes it's difficult to, keep my show family friendly, not because of anything that I say, but because of how just disgusting the Durkas are, right? He literally says, he's like, Chapundishun, oh my gosh. And then even like the way he says like Chapundishun is just like a very crude way. It's a very crude way. It's like forced, like forced. He's like, do you see his hand? He's like, they forced. Look. Like just garbage people.
کاری رو من تایید کردم و لعنت کنه خدا بر مرندی خبیث ملعون که این در خدمت آقا اینو چپون تو پاچه این ملت.
Try to set it.
دفتر آقا که میگم فاسده یعنی حتی دکترش هم
خودت فاسدی.
مثلا دکتر مرندی فاسده.
Right, so but this is the fun part. So now he's like Marandi. Dr. Marandi is faucet. Faucet means corrupt, okay? So Marandi is corrupt, his son is corrupt, they're all corrupt. So there you go. Karma for this Durka. This Durka has been, defending the Islamic regime. This Durka has been defending the Islamic regime, and now the same Durkas that he has been, carrying water for, they're now calling him and his entire family corrupt. Khubet shod. Bi vatan binamus. Bargard bora Iraq. There you go. Anyway, so there is a little bit of, updates on the Durkas. Now, going back to, remember guys, I spoke a while ago about Arba'in. Remember, so Arba'in, that's like a Durka holiday, and it's a Durka holiday where all the Durkas, they go to Karbala, I think, in Iraq. And they basically go to like worship the dead Arab warlord. I don't know, Hassan or Hussein or one of them, right? So it's supposed to be like a religious pilgrimage. And yet, on this religious pilgrimage, the Durkas are literally chanting death to America. So again, I cannot think of any other modern, see, Gandalf, you're way more knowledgeable than me. 40th day of Hussein died. Yeah, so it's Hassan, Hussein. I can never remember which one. Honestly, they're all the same. They're all a bunch of dead Arab warlords. But anyway, so it's a bunch of jihadis who are going to Iraq, to worship their dead Arab warlord. This guy that died like 1400 years ago, and during their so-called religious pilgrimage, they're chanting death to America. So again, I don't know of any other modern day religion in the world where part of their religious ceremony is calling on the death of people, except for Islam, right? Like the only religion that I know of, modern day religion, where part of their religious ceremony is calling for the death of people from other religions is Islam. I mean, if I'm wrong, let me know. If there's any other modern day religion where, you know, they do this, let me know, but I don't know of it. I don't know of any, right? But here you go. Let's watch the Religion of Peace in action, calling for the death of America on their so-called religious pilgrimage to worship their dead Arab warlord.
محکم معلمان اسرائیل
Of course, guys, of course, it's not an official religious ceremony if they don't also call out Israel, right? So, death to America, death to Israel. Welcome to Durka Jihadi, right? Welcome to Durka Jihadi.
محکم معلمان اسرائیل
You know, I'm not gonna lie, this is actually kind of hilarious because you can tell by like how much they're frothing at the mouths. Guys, this is all they have, right? Like these by the way, these people who are going to worship their dead Arab warlord, Hassan or Hussein or whatever, their dead Arab warlord in Iraq. These are the same people who murdered Iranians on January 8 and 9, right? Because these are the religious Durkas. They're like the zealots. So they've been, you know, going on this, you know, vacation to worship their dead Arab warlord in Iraq because these people aren't even Iranian. They're Arabs. They literally worship Arab warlords, right? So I don't know of any normal Iranian who worships a dead Arab warlord. Anyways, these people do. So, but as you can tell, they're literally freaking out because the United States and Israel boomed their Muslim pedophile dictator Khamenei and boomed a lot of, you know, their beloved, you know, dictator leaders or whatever. So all they can do is just yell. That's all they can do. I mean, well, it's two things. One, the first thing they do is they yell. They're like, oh, death to America, death to Israel. And then the second thing is they, of course, murder the Iranian people. Now, I speak a lot and extensively about the Iranian people and, you know, our fight against these Durkas on Iran Revolution Live. Of course, the Goldie Show is focused more on geopolitical analysis. So, that's where my focus is. So for anyone who's watching, especially if you're Iranian, if you're wondering why I'm not speaking about the Javidnams, it's because I do that in my earlier live stream. But yeah, so just look at the frustration in their voices. Look at the frustration in their voices. They're like, yell, he's like, yell louder, death to America, as if like that's going to like actually do something, right? Literally, it's like a jihadi death cult. Garbage ideology, you know, garbage religion. I'm sorry, any religion that does this is garbage, okay? Again, I can't think of any other religion where masses of, you know, military-aged men get together and chant death to America, death to Israel. If there is any other religion aside from Islam that does this, let me know. But I don't know of any other religion. And to me, this is not a religion. This is a death cult.
محکم معلمان اسرائیل
Anyway, so they're like freaking out, right? Like they're literally just like, oh my gosh, freaking out. And then I wanted to share this video from a Durka. Okay. Really quick, and then I'm going to get to some of the more breaking news. But this is another Durka, right? So remember, Why am I sharing this with you? It's because it's important for you guys to understand who is the United States dealing with, right? Who are the people that are part of the Islamic regime? Because if you want to understand your enemy, if you want to understand how to neutralize your enemy, you have to know what their ideology is. And I've said time and time again that these people are savages, they're murderers, you know, all they care about is jihad and Islam. And here is more proof.
حکومت وای میسیم بازم بیایم بیرون بازم بهتون رحم نمی‌کنیم چون دستور خدا رو انجام میدیم ما کسی نیست که بخواد اینجا دولت
Right, so he says, so he's referring to the Iranian people. He says, we are carrying out God's, he means Allah, we are carrying out Allah's command. You are nobody to stand against the Islamic Republic, right? So basically what this Durka terrorist is saying is that any Iranian who wants freedom or democracy will be murdered because they're carrying out the command of their demon god Allah, right? So he like they're not hiding the fact. We are carrying out God's command. By God, they mean Allah. So, yeah, guys, this is literally modern day jihad, right? Where you know they worship their demon god Allah, right? And you know, according to their religion, Allah says that they are allowed to murder anyone who threatens the existence of Islam.
جمهوری اسلامی واسیم کل کشورها هم جمع بشن قدرت ما رو ندارن جانم فدای رهبرم پاینده با جمهوری اسلامی ایران.
You know what? I truly pray and hope that this Durka achieves his goal of martyrdom, because this Durka is saying that he wants his life to be sacrificed for his leader and he wants his life to be sacrificed for Islam. Go for it. Go for it, guys. See, like, you shouldn't feel bad about booming the Muslim Nazis, because they're literally saying openly that they want to be sacrificed for their demon god Allah. So, I mean, anyone who booms the Muslim Nazis, you're basically doing them a favor. You're basically helping them achieve their goals of martyrdom, right? It's like a win-win situation, right? Because when you boom the Muslim Nazis, they achieve their goal of martyrdom. Americans achieve a goal of, you know, getting rid of this existentialist threat, and Iranians achieve the goal of being able to reclaim our country from the Muslim Durkas. Guys, it's literally like a win-win-win situation. So there you go. There you go. But I digress. I want to get to Scott Bessent, because this, I want to get to a couple of Truth Social posts. One of them was Scott Bessent, of course. But let me get to this one really quick before we get to Scotty B. So President Trump posted earlier today, the fake news, as usual, I call them the fake stream media. Fake stream media is spreading false and completely unfounded rumors. I am extremely happy with the job that Pete Hegseth is doing. Everything has been extraordinary, including our attack on Venezuela, where the result was accomplished in less than 1 day, allowing us to bring one of the worst criminals anywhere in the world, Nicolas Maduro, to justice. Likewise, Iran, he means the Islamic regime, where the country has been decimated for the purpose of not allowing it to ever have a nuclear weapon, is going very well. Pete is highly respected within the military and has made tremendous improvements, including getting rid of DEI. Thank God, guys, DEI is like the worst thing in the military. And increasing recruitment to historic levels. This rumor was started by the Washington Post, one of the worst media outlets in the business, despite our telling them their story is completely false. In actuality, I really believe their fake reporting is treasonous. President Donald J. Trump. And then President Trump also shared this interview with Scott Bessent from earlier today. And I'm just going to get to the part where he's speaking about the Persian Gulf and the Strait of Hormuz.
And I think now we're going to see strong growth. They've had strong wage growth. The economy is quite strong. Japan's tech sector, while it doesn't match the U.S., is very, very strong. Japan, Korea, two of the strongest in the world. And then when you talk about the energy price, Japan is a substantial importer of energy from the Gulf. And we've seen President Trump last week threatened what would have been one of the largest military campaigns, or the largest military campaign since World War II, against the Iranians. And now because of that, we are in talks with the Iranians. And I think there is a chance we may have a deal today or tomorrow to open the strait and move towards a more normalized position in this conflict.
Guys, spoiler alert, I'm going to tell you right now, there's not going to be a deal. There's not going to be a deal. But the reason that Scott Bessent is saying this is that he is putting the Islamic regime, and not just the Islamic regime, but the Persian Gulf countries on notice, right? So, yeah. Basically what he's saying is that, like, the fact that he's saying, like, I think there's going to be a deal maybe today or tomorrow. First of all, the words "I think" is very important. Wait, someone in the chat is saying they have to be nuked. That is garbage nonsense. So, Eric, I suggest you you choose your words carefully. No one here is advocating for nuclear bombs. The next time that you say that Iran has to be nuked, I will ban you. I'm Iranian and I don't advocate for nuclear bombs. I advocate for the freedom of my country. So Eric, educate yourself. If you're a troll, then you're a troll. Nothing I can do about that. You'll be banned. But anyone who says that Iran has to be nuked, inappropriate. And quite frankly, that's just like a low IQ comment. You're no different than the communists who claim that the only way that America is going to go after the Islamic regime is to nuke them, right? And remember, guys, on my interview on Al Arabia, remember I was literally dealing with that like communist Indian jihadi guy who was saying that President Trump is going to nuke Tehran. And I was like, what kind of garbage jihadi nonsense are you speaking about, right? So there you go. Anyways, but going back to Scott Bessent. So when Scott Bessent says, I think there's going to be a deal in the next day or so, he's pretty much putting the Islamic regime on notice. Again, the fact that he's putting a time limit on this, right? This indicates that something's going to happen within probably the next few days. And, we are getting to the weekend, right? We are getting to the weekend. So this may very well be an explosive weekend. We don't know. But when Scotty B is saying, oh, we might get to a deal in 1 or 2 days, you have to read between the lines, because what he's also saying is that if we don't get to a deal within 1 or 2 days, something else is going to happen.
To open the strait and move towards a more normalized position in this conflict. And that's because their air force is wiped out, their navy is wiped out, substantial portion of their missiles are wiped out. More importantly, their missile production capability is wiped out. So anything that happens in the Gulf will benefit Japan and indeed the rest of the world, Joe.
Just to clarify on that, Mr. Secretary, the idea of having a deal today or tomorrow to reopen the strait, would that be reopening the strait, but the Iranians somehow having the ability to charge a toll on that? Or would that be reopening the strait and it's free and clear and anybody can move through?
I think it would be freedom of movement. And even though things are still a little dicey there over the past few days, we've saw quite a few ships coming out even now. So I'd expect the energy prices to settle back down, which, as I said, will be good for the entire world. And once the strait reopens, there are hundreds, if not 1,000 ships sitting in there waiting to go out. And Becky, it's not just energy; it's fertilizer, it's refined products, it is the various industrial gases. So I think that we could see a big relief trade as those prices go down.
In fact, as you've been speaking, Mr. Secretary, the WTI price is dropping. We were looking at oil
82
at 82 earlier this morning. Now it's trading at about 78. I guess you watch those levels pretty closely. What do you watch on a daily basis? Is it oil? Is it the 10-year? Is it the 30-year? The 2-year? Is it the?
I'll be perfectly honest with you guys. I don't care about the oil discussion. I don't, because I always find it really insensitive when people talk about oil prices when Iranian people are literally being hanged every day. So the Islamic regime is taking advantage of oil prices. What are these trolls doing here? Oh my gosh, psycho trolls. Anyways, the Islamic regime is taking advantage of the price of oil, but ultimately, the Iranian people, our blood is worth more than oil. So I mean, I pay higher gas prices in Canada, and I don't complain about that. So, I just think anyone who complains about the price of oil is insensitive, because price of oil goes up and comes down. And keep in mind, the price of oil under Biden went up significantly, and that had nothing to do with the Islamic regime. So, yeah, I think the world can deal with high oil prices for a little while until the Iranian people are free. Because if you guys think you have it bad, you have no idea how bad it is in occupied Iran. You guys have no idea how bad it is in occupied Iran. So I have very little tolerance for people who are, complaining about the price of oil or talking about the price of oil. But I want to get to some news about the boom booms. So, according to reports from local sources, around 9:40 to 9:43 p.m., that's Iran time, several explosion sounds were heard in Qishm and parts of Bandar Abbas. So again, just a quick reminder, if we go to our map, Bandar Abbas, right? Bandar Abbas is here. It's right on the Strait of Hormuz. And this is Qishm, okay? Now, Bandar Abbas is the most important location for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps. This is where the vast majority of the IRGC bases are. It is also pretty much like the logistical hub for the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps when it comes to transporting material or military equipment in and out of the area. So we already know that a lot of the roads and bridges to Bandar Abbas have been destroyed, but we have supposedly heard new boom booms, and Shin has also confirmed this. So if I go to Shin's post from earlier today, he posted, now 2 blasts were just heard in Qishm Island, Hormuzgan province, Iran. And then regime sources, explosions in Qishm were engaging hostile targets near the Strait of Hormuz. So there's been some sort of explosions, some sort of boom booms happening. We don't know what. There is a lot of fake news out there. So, don't just there's so many grifter accounts out there, and they'll literally post fake news with like footage from either different countries or footage from years ago, and they'll claim, oh, look at this footage from Iran, and it's all fake, right? So I rely on Shin and a few other sources. Now apparently 2 hours ago, jets heading east over northeastern Tehran. Now Tehran is the capital of the country, and so they got a post, like he got a message from someone saying jets heard flying due east. Now where that is going, I have no idea, but that's pretty much the latest when it comes to the boom booms and what may or may not be happening. I have a feeling that this could be a pre-show for what's to come. Meanwhile, guys, this is actually really important. I want to share this with you because I want to talk about the mentality of the Muslim Nazis. And remember, I've always said to you guys, the Muslim Nazis, they don't understand what appeasement means, right? So, for example, the fact that President Trump is saying, you know what, you guys want to negotiate? Sure. We will prevent from destroying you because you guys are begging us to talk, okay? And, between the Muslim Nazis occupying Iran and President Trump, I know who I trust. I trust President Trump. Why? Because we Iranians, we have been dealing with the Islamic regime for 47 years. We already know if their lips are moving, they are lying. But here's the thing when it comes to the Muslim Nazis and their jihadi ideology. They view kindness as weakness. They view negotiations as weakness. So while President Trump, right, and the rest of us, we are normal, rational, logical, sane people. When, let's say, like, if someone is ever in a position of weakness and they're shown mercy, right, usually we're grateful. We show gratitude to the fact that we were shown mercy, okay? But that's not how the Islamic regime is. If you show the Islamic regime mercy, like President Trump has, this is what they do. This is Ghalibaf. Now keep in mind, if we go to our Boom Boom Bingo sheet, okay, Ghalibaf is here. He is the Speaker of Parliament. He is one of the so-called more pragmatic and less radical, and he is more reasonable than the other ones, right? Now keep in mind, I've always said to you guys, when President Trump says that someone like Ghalibaf is more reasonable, that's within the context of the Islamic regime. So Ghalibaf, yes, this guy he's probably more reasonable than Vahidi, General Skidmark, right? He's more reasonable than General Skidmark because he's not an insane, right? Like he's not as insane. So, on like the Durkheim scale, where, 0 is, a normal person and 10 being, like full on insane jihadi, General Skidmark is a 10. Ghalibaf is more reasonable and more pragmatic. He's a 9.5. Okay, so on a scale of 0 to 10, General Skidmark is a 10 out of 10. Ghalibaf is a 9.5 out of 10. So is he more reasonable than General Skidmark? Yeah. Why? Because Ghalibaf, he has the political wherewithal to understand that if he wants to survive when he's dealing with the American negotiators, he has to lie. He has to basically tell them what they want to hear so that the Islamic regime can survive another day. However, when he's done dealing with the Americans, he will turn around and then he posts this garbage Durka jihadi nonsense on X. By the way, X is an American company. I still don't understand why and how, anti-American terrorists are able to post their terrorist propaganda on X, but, you guys do you. But anyway, so here's Ghalibaf, and then he's pretty much making fun of President Trump right now. Massive attack incoming. Wait, never mind, they want to negotiate. That's theater diplomacy on loop. Using bullying plus broken promises plus fake news as leverage is a failed strategy. Acknowledge the facts and fulfill your commitments. We don't need more theater. So, Ghalibaf is now openly accusing President Trump of bullying, fake news, and breaking promises, which is absolutely insane, right? Because when you think about it, the Islamic regime are literally liars. They literally engage in taqiyya, but this is like the ultimate form of gaslighting, right? This is how they gaslight. And all of the, like the fake stream media, the Trump derangement syndrome, the communists, Antifa, whatever, they're going to take this as if it's like, the word of the gospel, right? Like they're going to be like, oh, this is true, and President Trump is lying, right? Meanwhile, we Iranians, we look at this and we're like, the Muslim Nazis are freaking out. The Muslim Nazis are freaking out. But again, this is why we Iranians always say you can't negotiate with terrorists, right? Like, don't engage in diplomacy because these 7th century inbred savages, they don't operate on the same level as we do, right? Like humans in 2026, we operate like up here, and these Muslim Durkas, they operate like down here. The only language they understand is the language of violence, okay? And you have to stand up to them. You have to hold your ground. Because if you try to show even a little bit of sympathy, their ideology views sympathy as weakness. So if you show them sympathy, they see that as weakness, and they use that as a way to attack you publicly. And that's exactly what is happening right now within the Islamic regime, where Ghalibaf is now attacking President Trump and accusing the United States of bullying. Keep in mind, guys, don't forget, not only is the United States destroying an existential threat to them for the last 47 years, but this is what the Iranian people have been asking for, right? A humanitarian intervention. Because Ghalibaf is part of the same Muslim Nazi regime that mass slaughtered over 54,000 innocent unarmed Iranians on January 8 and 9 alone. So there you go, guys. This is what I mean. If their lips are moving, they are lying. And this right here, this is the perfect example of that. If their lips are moving, they are lying. Okay. It's just like, it's all insane, right? Like they're just literally all just absolutely insane. Okay. I found the article that I was referring to earlier in my live stream about Pezeshkian, denying the massacre and, of course, justifying the slaughter of Iranians. So today, Pezeshkian, remember, Pezeshkian is this one. Pezeshkian is the puppet president. He's also the one that that other Imami jihadi Durka, he's accusing, remember, he was accusing Marandi's father of shoving Pezeshkian up the rear end of the Iranian nation. Yeah, that's Pezeshkian. So Pezeshkian is, now trying to prevent himself from being hanged or, beheaded or something. So Iran International is saying Pezeshkian rejected reports that tens of thousands of people were killed in the January protest crackdown, accusing those publishing higher death tolls of misleading the public. Shame on you, Pezeshkian, shame on you. In an interview published on Thursday, Pezeshkian acknowledged that thousands had been killed, right? So he acknowledged that thousands had been killed, but rejected estimates putting the toll at 30,000 to 60,000. Wow. So, do you see how insane their logic is? So they're admitting, he's literally admitting that he is responsible for murdering thousands of Iranians, but he's like, oh, but it's not as high as 30,000. Okay, so what was it? 10,000? 20,000? 1,000? One person murdered by the Islamic regime is one person too many. Some media outlets and journalists claim that 40,000 or 60,000 people were killed in Iran, Pezeshkian said. He said authorities responded by publishing names and national identification numbers of those they had said had been killed and inviting people to provide names that were missing. Yeah, okay, as if anyone in a totalitarian, authoritarian dictatorship is going to give their info to the government. Guys, just look at the footage that I shared yesterday, 2 days ago, on Iran Revolution Live, day 205. On Iran Revolution Live, day 205, that was August 4, I go over a 12-minute video, and in that 12-minute video, you can see hundreds and hundreds of dead bodies of young Iranians murdered by the Islamic regime. That's just one morgue. One morgue in a country of 90 million. And yet the Islamic regime, they're trying to hide the genocide of Iranians, right? And then they're saying, oh, the official numbers. Official numbers from who? The Islamic regime? The Islamic regime, which is a totalitarian, authoritarian dictatorship where there is no democracy, no civil liberty, no freedom of press, no freedom of media. Those official numbers, the same Islamic regime that claims that 99.9% of Iranians are Muslim. Really? That Islamic regime? Yeah, okay. Meanwhile, I literally just shared this video with you. Remember? I shared this video. So guys, this is the insane thing, right?
جانم فدای
خاک تو سرت آشغال. Right? Meanwhile, so this is the insane gaslighting. On one hand, the Muslim Nazis will say in English that, oh, the numbers about the murdered Iranians are exaggerated, right? Yes, we killed thousands, but it's not that many, okay? But then on the other hand, the same people who murdered Iranians are literally posting videos like this and saying, we are carrying out God's command and will continue murdering you if you try to rise up. Right? Yeah. Guys, this is what happens when you let Islam into your countries. So, fair warning, don't let Islam into your countries, right? Don't let an ideology that literally believes that they are, guys, they literally believe that murdering infidels, right? Jews, Christians, Iranians, whoever, any non-Muslim is an infidel, right? They literally believe that murdering infidels, right, is carrying out their demon god's command. So, I don't know, man. Think twice before you let these people into your countries. Because when the numbers are small, right? When they're small, they're like, "Oh, religion of peace. I'm oppressed, blah 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 blah." And then as soon as they reach a critical mass, this is what happens, right? This is what happens. Fair warning. We Iranians, we're warning you. We're literally like the canary in the coal mine. So if you have Iranians in your countries who are speaking out against Islam and warning you about it, yeah, there's a reason why. Because do you see how they treat us? Do you see how they speak to us? This is what we've been dealing with for the last 47 years, where the Muslim Nazis, they murder us. And they gloat over the fact, and they say, we murder you because our demon god tells us that we have to murder you, and we'll do it again. We'll do it again to defend Islam. Yeah. Welcome to Islam. Welcome to jihad. Anyways. Okay. I want to end off with this video from Mark Levin. And I think this video is really important. I started playing it earlier, but then we got a little bit sidetracked. So I want to share this because it is such an important video. And this video is going to give us, I believe, a lot of good context. And also a launch pad, let's say, for what we may or may not see this weekend. Now, again, I mean, my analysis when it comes to the current situation in the Middle East is the same. Like, I believe that we are heading towards an escalation in the boom booms, with, the United States and Israel on one side and the Muslim Nazis occupying Iran on the other. That I feel like it's a given, it's a guarantee, right? Like that's how it's going to end. Whether that happens this weekend or next weekend, I don't know, right? Like I can't predict the timeline. I'm not a military strategist, so I don't know when it's going to happen, right? Again, like no one predicted February 28th. No one predicted that President Trump would exterminate Khamenei on February 28th. Before that happened, I was saying that I am 100% certain that the United States is gearing up towards something, and we're going to see some sort of major escalation. But I didn't. I actually kind of. I actually did kind of predict Khamenei's death in a way. Let me show you my X post because this was wild. Let me pull this up for you guys because this was right. This was 14. No. Wait, I'm gonna find this because I kind of did predict this. Here we go. So on February, you know what, guys? I did kind of predict it. I did. Because on February 27, I was watching Sean Hannity's Friday evening, and Sean Hannity just said he's praying for the U.S. military tonight, and pack your bags. We're getting ready to go back home to Iran, and a few hours later, we had the news that Khamenei is dead, and the boom booms have begun. So there you go. And then someone was like, so tomorrow night, because it's almost morning time in Iran, and then remember, Khamenei was boom boomed and sent back to hell Saturday morning at 9:30 a.m. Literally, like broad daylight. Okay, broad daylight. So there you go. So I mean, I guess I did kind of predict the boom booms, but not really. But this would be the closest to a prediction I've ever come. But sometimes the signs are all there. You just have to know how to read the signs and understand the signs. But having said that, this video from Mark Levin is really important for us to watch because there's a lot of important things here, and again, there's some certain signs that I'm seeing. Again, I can't predict when the boom booms will happen, but I feel like we're getting close.
Hello, America. I'm Mark Levin, and this is Life, Liberty, and Levin Saturday. Welcome to the program. I want to address Iran and Fauci. What does one have to do with the other? Absolutely nothing. But they're two topics I think deserve attention. First, I want to talk about Iran. Now, we've been talking about Iran for over 6 months, really for 18 months, if you think about it. But it's very important. And I think first I want to lay the foundation for what has been done. Because what President Trump has done as commander-in-chief, no other president has done, and I don't think any other president will do, which is part of the problem. So let's look into this. First, the great successes that we've had on the battlefield under our commander-in-chief. Targeted strategic sites, including the Kandahar Maritime Control Tower, regional air defense systems, imposed and enforced blockades around major Iranian ports and the Strait of Hormuz to restrict maritime capabilities and energy exports to the tune of almost $500 million a day, devastating the economy. Executed precision strikes against missile sites, drone manufacturing facilities, and Iran-aligned militia networks across the Middle East, severely disrupting local power grids, transport links, and trade routes to diminish the regime's financial capability to fund military operations. Damaged or disrupted over 85% of broader Iranian missile and drone industrial manufacturing bases. Disabled or destroyed roughly 40 to 50% of active mobile missile launchers, reducing the volume of subsequent attacks. United States and Israeli joint military operations have eliminated 49 of the top-tier Iranian leaders and senior commanders, including the supreme leader, the defense minister, and the Iranian Republican Guard Corps commander, the severe decapitation of the upper echelon. Iran...
Wait, can we go back and look at their faces for a moment? Like, اصلا ریخت و قیافه‌شون رو ببین چقدر زشتن. Like this guy. Oh my, wait. Let me fix this. This one looks like a thumb. Look at him. Like, he looks like a thumb. He's like, ugh. And then this one, like all of them, like just like, where do these facial features come from, right? When I call them, Omid. Yeah, guys, like, right? When I say that the Islamic regime is like the feces of Satan, yeah, like literally, they look like the feces of Satan. right? The feces of Satan right here. It's just garbage people, garbage ideology, right? Like, you can tell, right? You can tell that their family tree is a family circle, okay? Family circle right there.
Corps commander, the severe decapitation of the upper echelon. Iran's nuclear program has been massively disrupted, but the obsession with the regime in producing nuclear weapons and the know-how remain. And only the regime's elimination will ensure that it can never produce such weapons again.
That's true.
And the regime has survived. So what needs to be done here? The president's getting a lot of advice from different advisors. Go heavy, don't go heavy, and so forth and so on. Well, here's what I think. Empower the Iranian people. I say this as an old Reagan guy who served in the Reagan administration for 8 years. And I saw it with my own 2 eyes that it works, that it destroyed the Soviet Union. And the people of Iran, they are good people. They want to overthrow this regime. And this is a ripe area that I don't think we're exploiting and I don't think we're using. The regime fears the Iranian people more than it fears anything else, including us or the Israelis. They fear their own people the most because the regime in 1979 came to be by overthrowing the Shah, by lying to the people, by persuading the people, by using brute force, brutality, torture, rape, murder, anything they could. And they fear the people, which is why they have such a massive police state and why they're executing people as I speak. And we remember what took place a few months ago, 50,000 people murdered in 48 hours. We've never seen anything like that. There are, in fact, local opposition movements and organized resistance units in Iran. Our CIA knows about it. The Mossad knows about it. We should provide training, communication tools, and tactical air support. Supply them with weapons, intelligence, money, food, medical supplies. We should take a page from the Reagan doctrine, peace through strength, and pass CIA playbooks. Surely the CIA director knows that the playbooks are there at the CIA. Dust them off. Of course it's a different situation, but it's not more complicated. I would argue taking out the Soviet Union was more complicated. Intensify financial and economic pressure so the regime can no longer fund the internal security forces, including the IRGC and regular military forces. We've done a good job. Tighten it up. Keep it up. Keep up asset freezes. Continue the Strait blockade to cut off the regime's oil and gas revenues. Continue targeting top clerical and military commanders. Disrupt continuity. Create a power vacuum. That's what...
Did you catch that? Disrupt and target the top clerical and military. Guys, clerical, he's talking about the Durkas. Guys, Mark Levin is talking about targeting the Durkas, the turban heads, right? That's what he means when he says the clerical commanders.
Longer fund the internal security forces, including the IRGC and regular military forces. We've done a good job. Tighten it up. Keep it up. Keep up asset freezes. Continue the Strait blockade to cut off the regime's oil and gas revenues. Continue targeting top clerical and military commanders. Disrupt continuity. Create a power vacuum. That's what's needed. Continue hitting ballistic missile and drone factories to destroy as much of its offensive military capability as possible, helping to protect, for example, the Arab oil infrastructure. And I know they're lobbying the White House. There have been reports on this. They're concerned about a wider war because they're concerned about the oil infrastructure, a worldwide depression, and so forth and so on. It won't happen. It won't happen. But take out all the offensive abilities they have, and I think that's what the president is doing, as a matter of fact. Target government buildings. Target the IRGC and regular Army facilities. More on the communication centers. Hit their banks. Hit their financial centers. If we want victory, and we want to get this over with. This is the only way to do it. And reconsider our aversion to hitting their oil production and refining facilities and infrastructure. The fact is, this is the surest way to cripple the regime. Don't worry about rebuilding the infrastructure. There are multiple ways to do that after the war, with a mini Marshall program or investment from private sector and so forth and so on. There are ways to deal with it. Do not worry about that right now. The focus and the concern should be victory. Victory brings many opportunities and possibilities. Diplomatically, no ceasefire for at least 30 days and perhaps longer. No negotiating for at least 30 days and perhaps longer. We need to meet our objectives first on the battlefield, financially, militarily, and every other way. The enemy is dragging out this campaign. It is watching the election calendar more closely than the rest of us. It is watching the gas prices more closely than the rest of us. It hears the Democrats. It hears our media. It hears the isolationists, and it gets power from them, energy from them. And in the end, none of it matters. The American people will support a real victory. Focus. Destroy the regime. The regime will not negotiate in good faith, as we've seen not only in the last 6 months, but the last 47 years. How many more examples do we need? What's it going to take to prove this point? And any deal that is reached will be violated either immediately or over time. Again, the point is they will not adhere to any deal. If there's evidence to the contrary, let's see it. Let's see any evidence that they will adhere to any deal. I can provide reams of evidence that it will not. We should rethink whether sidelining Israel is a wise decision. I don't think it is. If our objective is to defeat the enemy, it is not a wise decision. I assume, but do not pretend to know, that Israel's intel services and ours are still working together. And at the beginning of this military operation, Israel was a critical ally fighting alongside our armed forces and the devastating effect against our enemy. So what's changed? The question is whether the cost of unilateral action without the most powerful ally in the region beside us as before, likely in part due to pressure from the Arabs. Was that a wise decision? Israel's aircraft sitting in their hangars and their weapons on hold? No doubt the Arab countries want to protect their own oil production, as I mentioned. The best way to do that is to crush the Iranian regime's offensive capabilities as powerfully, as quickly, and as completely as possible. Put them on defense. Make them defend Karg Island, which I'll get to in a minute. But to do what I'm saying requires assistance from the Israeli military. I noticed that we are working with the Saudi Air Force, their attacks on Yemen and the Houthis. Now, to return briefly to the issue of destroying Iran's oil production infrastructure, which is the surest way to defeat the regime, Karg Island is the key. K-H-A.
So I disagree with Mark on this part. We don't need to destroy the oil infrastructure, but we can hold it hostage, right? Like if Karg Island is taken and the Islamic regime is prevented from accessing Karg Island, then that effectively neutralizes the oil infrastructure and their ability to, export oil. So there are ways of holding the Islamic regime hostage by neutralizing their economy without actually destroying the infrastructure. So that's where him and I, we disagree on that point there.
ARG for the whole world. Karg Island is the key. It handles roughly 85 to 90% of Iran's crude oil exports, serving as the primary economic lifeline for for shipments primarily bound for China. Is China the reason we won't do this? What exactly is the reason we won't do this? Kharg Island is the heart of Iran's economy, and I would argue to the regime's survival. I think they're wondering why we haven't hit it and destroyed it, or why we haven't captured it and taken it over. The fact is that...
Yeah, I like the second option better. Capture and take over. Capture and take over, way better than hitting and destroying.
Few times in our history of military conflict has an enemy been so reliant on a single resource sticking out there for us to deal with. In this case, oil and Kharg Island. So vulnerable to a targeted military attack, that is a single location serving as the lifeline for the regime and its sustenance. The destruction of Kharg...
So Omid has a bit of a different opinion, which is fine, guys. So, keep in mind, like, all of us have different thoughts and opinions on this. So Omid, like many Iranians, says IMO do what is necessary. So, I mean, it's tough, but Omid, like, I'm kind of with you on this. Like, I mean, if that's the only way to free Iran, then, I mean, I guess, I don't know, so be it, right? Because we can always rebuild infrastructure, but we can't, we can't bring back to life all the Iranians murdered by the Islamic regime, right? Like, that infrastructure can be rebuilt. Iranian lives murdered by the Islamic regime can never be brought back. So, I mean, I agree with you on that. And it's a tough one. It's a tough one. But ultimately, guys, the one thing I want to make very clear to everyone who's watching, whatever happens, I want all of you guys to know that we 100% blame the Islamic regime, right? Because it's the Islamic regime, it's the Muslim Nazis occupying Iran who have put our country in this situation, right? The Islamic regime, like, they could have, or they should have surrendered months ago, okay? But they are literally insane. And, for them, it's jihad, right? And so their religion, their ideology, right? It basically says that they have to defend Islam, okay? So that's why they haven't surrendered. And, the Muslims have always said that they, if and when it comes to the moment where they're going to be destroyed, they're going to make sure that Iran goes scorched earth. And by the way, all this infrastructure, right? Like, most of this was built before 1979. It was built by the Shah. The Islamic regime, they have invested pretty much nothing into the country. Everything that we have is because of the Shah and because of the Pahlavi dynasty. So, they built Iran starting back in 1925, and we have full faith that they can and will rebuild Iran again. And in fact, guys, I guarantee you that the current, crown princess, Noor Pahlavi, she is the, so she's the eldest daughter of the current Shah, and she is next in line to be the Shah of Iran after her father, His Royal Highness Reza Pahlavi II. I guarantee you guys, she's gonna be like a Queen Victoria. You know how Queen Victoria in England, was like all about arts and Renaissance and modernizing and just all the amazing things that Queen Victoria did for England. So our crown princess and the future Shah of Iran, Noor Pahlavi, she's pretty much going to be like Queen Victoria. Mark my words on that. You heard it here first. August 6th, 2026, right? That's basically what's going to happen. But you're right. Like, we can rebuild Kharg Island. I mean, but this is what I want to make clear. If push comes to shove, what we Iranians have been saying, and I shared Morad Vaisi's analysis from a few nights ago as well, we're all blaming the Islamic regime, right? Like, no one is blaming the United States, no one is blaming Israel. Everything that is happening right now in occupied Iran is the fault of the Muslim Nazis and their garbage ideology and their occupation over Iran, their illegal occupation, and the fact that they refuse to surrender, because they will never surrender, because in their religion they believe that they have an Allah-given responsibility to impose Islam on everyone else and to murder the infidels.
That is a single location serving as the lifeline for the regime and its sustenance. The destruction of Karg Island, or the taking control of Karg Island, will cause enormous difficulties and complications for the regime. I don't think it can survive it, quite frankly.
It can't.
While their exports have plummeted, Iran utilizes roughly 70% of its oil production domestically and expanded its land and floating storage buffers, avoiding total structural collapse of the wells, despite production shut-in threats from us. But these floating storage freighters are sitting ducks. If we choose to take them out as well, or some portion of them, it will again, like Karg Island, I think have the effect that we're seeking, to bring them to their knees. It will certainly put the regime's leaders and their forces in the IRGC on defense. They won't be able to pay them. They won't be able to pay the regular army. They won't be able to pay the police. They're already having difficulty. It's sitting there for us to attack. To attack. The key now, in my view, the Iranian people in Karg Island. The Iranian people in Karg Island. And don't sideline the Israelis. They've got a lot of equipment, a lot of weapons, a lot of know-how, a lot of intelligence. I don't care what the Arabs say or what Erdogan and Turkey say.
Good, because they're Muslim.
They're an ally. They helped us, and they can help us again.
Yeah.
I want to address another matter. Anthony Fauci.
Okay.
Anthony Fauci.
All right. So there you go. That's what Mark Levin was saying about Iran, and as you can tell, everything that he was saying here is pretty much what I've been saying for the last several months, right? Target the clerics, target the government buildings, target their politicians, target the infrastructure of the Islamic regime. And it's very simple. It's very simple. And I see a lot of comments in the chat about Lindsey Graham. Yeah, rest in peace, Senator Lindsey Graham. Amu Lindsey. He had it right. He had it right. And he was a true patriot. And it's just incredibly sad that he's not around to celebrate a free Iran with us. But, you know, I know he's looking down on us from heaven and smiling, and yeah, just yeah. All right, guys. So I wanted to thank all of you for tuning in. Let me just get to your questions and comments really quickly. We don't have too many, but I will get through them all before we call it for the night. Shawarma Crusher says, Goldie, do you ever take a break? You are a queen. Javid Shah, I'm Israel High. Thank you. I mean, I didn't live stream yesterday because I was sick and I lost my voice. So I guess technically yesterday was a break. But other than that, I'm usually pretty much live every day because the news does not take a break. So neither do we. And of course, everything that's going on in the Middle East, always happy to come here and share my analysis and, you know, have a conversation with all of you. So grateful to all of you for tuning into this. Kevin says, does this mean that NATO is extended to Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, or is Turkey quitting NATO? If Turkey does not quit, they should be cut out of NATO. So no, just because so Kevin's referring to the fact that Turkey is signing a trilateral defensive deal with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan. No, this does not mean that NATO is extended to Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, because that's not how it works. That's not how it works to become a NATO member. There's a certain process you have to go through, and other NATO members have to vote on it. And this also does not mean that Turkey is quitting NATO. But from a geopolitical perspective, it is very strange that Turkey, even though Turkey is a NATO member, Turkey, for some reason, feels the need to enter into a trilateral defensive agreement with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, pretty much signaling that Turkey does not really view NATO as a reliable institution, or possibly that Turkey does not trust the other NATO members, because Turkey is the only Muslim majority NATO member. By the way, Turkey is actually much closer to Russia these days than NATO allies. And remember, NATO was essentially created to protect Europe from the threat of communism, the Soviets, aka Russia. So, yeah, like none of what you're saying is actually happening. But the reason that, it's important to talk about this is because why is a NATO member signing a defense treaty with Saudi Arabia and Pakistan, right? Remember, all these Muslim countries, they play in the same league. And remember, when Turkey signed on to NATO, Turkey was not an Islamist country. Turkey was not overrun by the Muslim Brotherhood. Remember, Erdogan is part of the Muslim Brotherhood. So the Muslim Brotherhood, which is currently engaging in civilizational jihad, and infiltrating Western countries, Erdogan is one of their top people. So Turkey is currently infiltrated and occupied by the Muslim Brotherhood. Victory, on Tuesday, you started but didn't finish a Levin video about USA, Israel military, and Iranian people. Yes, I just shared that. Thank you so much, Victory. Appreciate that. And Eli gifted a membership. Oh, something is occasionally... You know what, guys? I'm sorry. You know what? It's my bracelets. I'm sorry, guys. I mean, I guess I could take off my bracelets, but I don't really take off my bracelets. That's the sound. I'm sorry. It's just I've always had my bracelets on. I know, it's annoying. Should I remove my bracelets and then you don't hear the jingle jingle sound? Sorry, guys. I guess I can take them off. I know. So there you go. So if you hear something like hitting the desk once in a while, it's my bracelets on my wrist. They're always there, right? Guys, fun fact. So every time I go to the airport, and whenever I go through like those beeping thingies, it always beeps because of my bracelets, right? And then they're like, can you take off your bracelets? And I'm like, no, it's kind of difficult to do. So then, guys, I always get like the VIP treatment when I go through airport security because of my bracelets. So I literally have to stand there, like this, and then they're like, scanning me down, patting me down or whatever. And I'm just like, yeah, guys, I'm getting the VIP luxury treatment at the airport because of my bracelets and how they always beep whenever I go through the metal detector at the airport. Okay, guys, so thank you everyone for tuning in to tonight's evening edition of the Goldie Show. My final analysis is that boom booms are full speed ahead. I don't know when, I don't know where, I don't know how, but something is happening. And once again, keep in mind, the fact that President Trump met with Prime Minister Netanyahu, that's a big deal. That's a big deal. And the last time President Trump met with Prime Minister Netanyahu, 2 weeks later, Khamenei, the dead terrorist, was dead. So there you go. I hope that you guys enjoyed tonight's evening edition of The Goldie Show. As always, I'm Goldie Gamari. You've been watching The Goldie Show, and now you know. I'll see all of you guys tomorrow.